Okay, we are recording.
Wonderful.
Hello, everybody. We're back with the Damned If We Do podcast, featuring your co-hosts, Jessica and the lovely...
The incredible Jasper Peter Pershing. Hello.
Yes. Hello, Jasper.
Hi, Jessica, and hello, listeners. It has been a minute, but we're back, probably for just 2 more episodes or something before our season 1 break.
Yeah.
But here we are.
It's been a wild
so Jessica,
season already.
It has been a while. Yes, it has been a while already. But Jessica, tell me, how are you? What's been going on?
I've been good. I have been recovering because I had a show with a writers group that I'm a part of. We just ended, and literally like last week. So I kind of took some time to just recover after that. I have work tomorrow though, so whatever. But yeah, I've been pretty good. I've been feeling very in my element. Feeling very aligned with myself lately. And that's a good feeling. I haven't felt this way in a hot minute. So, yeah.
That's a wonderful thing. I'm so glad that you feel in your element. I mean, like you said, if you haven't felt it in a minute and then you finally do again, it feels like splashing like the best water on your face. Ooh, it's just like, yes. I'm rejuvenated.
How about you, Jasper? How have you been?
I've been pretty good. I really have no idea what I've been doing. I said this last time right now because then we had to re-record this, but like I also directed something and it went really well. Learned a lot. Very challenging, but also very rewarding. And I'm still figuring out if it's something I would do again. Not that I've been asked, but I just am seeing if this is another artistic representation of myself that I'd like to continue or not. So definitely figuring that out.
I love that.
And personal update, my sister and I are getting even closer again.
Are you
which
serious?
Is wonderful.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
That's so good to hear.
And then the negative is I'm still single, you guys, so if anyone knows.
Tell me why I was having a conversation with someone about that the other day. Being like, I just need to find somebody. Like,
I definitely do. Yeah. I am ready. I am tired of flakes, hookups, and sleeping alone. So let's change that.
It really is cuffing season though. Like,
yeah.
Something about the holidays.
Also, like, since our last episode, I turned 24, and I just think it made me feel old.
Stop, Jasper. 24 is literally 4 years old in adult years.
Yep, and yet.
No, I get it, though. Sometimes I feel like an old woman. Yep. Like, I get out of bed, and I'm like, ooh, it's time for me to get back in bed, turn on my soap operas. But did you hear about the pandemic skip?
No.
Where it's like everyone who spent those like 2-3 years in the pandemic collectively feels like they are still the year the pandemic started, like the age that the year the pandemic started. So for a lot of people, it was like they were in their early 20s and they still feel like they're in their early 20s. I don't know if you feel that way at all.
Yeah, totally. Also I just think that the pandemic fucked our generation because it just made it so we all don't have the things that we grew up being told we needed to have by now, which is like a stable job with a stable income, an apartment, you know, all these like things that we even see in movies. And then we come out of the pandemic, all of those things basically fell apart, but we still have the guilt of not having them. But then we also emotionally are like, holy shit, I don't know anything.
It's true. There's
So
so
it's very
much.
annoying.
It's super annoying. It's super annoying.
Today, I wanted to talk about friends and friendship and everything that comes with that because it's just a very real conversation that I have all the time with my friends. And so I wanted to bring it to the pod.
Absolutely.
So, yes. So I have now... Wait, am I bold enough to say that? I don't know. I'm going to say it anyways, but watch me regret it. I feel like I have finally shed the last friend from my childhood that didn't need to be in my adulthood.
Whoa. That's
now,
deep.
I say that, but then who fucking knows? Because as you said, Jessica, we're only 4 years into our adulthood, so...
It's true. Shit changes. Shit can change.
One of the things that I recognized was it needed to happen now, and all the times in the past when I had thought I could do it, I wasn't really ready. And I don't actually really know what changed besides, I guess I just feel more secure. I also did this test where I was like, let me not talk to this person for like a month.
Yeah.
And just for everyone listening, with this friend, I'm always the one reaching out, but I also always felt like I had to because I felt like they knew me like nobody else. But I don't really think that's true. And the month when we didn't speak proved that to me.
Ooh. And the thing is, some people will be like, oh, you shouldn't test your friends. You shouldn't. I don't see it as testing your friends. I just see it as, like, understanding where you both are at in the relationship. Like, it's not malicious. It's more so just like, okay, where are we?
Yeah, exactly. And to clarify even more on that, because I think it's so true, the real test in that was for me. And do I feel like I'm secure?
Yep.
Do I feel this deep gutted panic that if I don't reach out to him, then who do I have that I can talk to? Which has never been the case, and he's the only one, but it have been times when I felt like that. So it was a self-test when I passed. Our last conversation we didn't have an argument or a fallout. It just wasn't going to be something worthwhile for either of us, it seems, at where we are.
Yeah.
This is even after further reflection past the first time we recorded this episode, where now, when talking about it, I am even more neutral. And even more just whatever. Like, since we last recorded an episode that didn't air, I think I sent him a message just like, because on his birthday, which was early December, I was like, oh, happy birthday. By the way, isn't it crazy? We've had like 10 years of friendship, which was more than what he fucking did on mine. His was like, enjoy your day of like magic or something. I was like, that's stupid, but whatever. I tried to make it personal to like the person that I know.
Yeah.
And he was like, yeah, that's crazy. But he responded to that like 2 days later, and then I responded like a day later being like, I know. And then I was like, okay, this just is done.
Yeah.
And I just feel relieved. I guess, is there a possibility where he comes back into my life? You never know what cards are dealt, but I'm not looking for him.
Yeah.
And I'm fine with that.
That's big.
Yes.
That's a lot.
Yes. Thank you. It is. Friendships are really scary.
They are. You invest so much time and energy and love and everything.
Yeah. And so I wanted to know what makes you feel like somebody is worth keeping. And when somebody does hurt your feelings, how do you decide if it's worth continuing to invest or letting go?
Oh, yeah. That's really difficult because it truly is a case-by-case experience. Like, I don't just have, like, a one-size-fits-all for most of my friendships.
Right.
But I will say that I do... As of recent, I've never really used to be like this when I was younger because, you know, that feeling of wanting to just, like, keep all your friends and, like, things will never change. And, you know, that, like, optimism and naivete is so real. But I think it really depends on... I think it's a choice you make, first of all. Like, yes, I do agree that, like, friendships we do grow apart, we do grow in different directions, but I do think there is a choice both parties have to make to keep that mutual respect. And I feel that in a time when we're we're young adults and we're growing into ourselves, we're finding ourselves, both friends have to be okay with each other changing. And if they're not okay with that change, and that change might literally mean that you guys aren't hanging out as much as you used to, you guys are not connecting on the same things you used to, but then finding new ways to do that is like what's most important. So what I've learned is like if we're not growing together in the same direction and we don't have mutual respect for how we're both changing, and then there's just like a lot of jealousy or there's just a lot of talking back or like remarks that are just unnecessary, that's when I know to like walk away from a relationship or to say, you know what, either this relationship needs time, we need time apart, or really just like ending a friendship. And I've ended some friendships in my life, definitely, and it's never fun. Like,
no,
there's like a lot of crying and like hurt involved with fully saying, we're no longer gonna talk. But I think it's a decision that you have to make in order for your own growth. And a lot of it comes down to prioritizing yourself, and not in like a anti-community way, but more so in it's like putting your mask on first in the airplane. Like you can't be a friend to other people if you're not a friend to yourself, Right. And it shows when you're not a friend to yourself. When people act like they're like, oh, well, it doesn't matter because you're going to be a shitty friend. Like, you just are. If you don't know how to, like, learn how to prioritize yourself and care for yourself and do things that make you feel.
This is so interesting, and I'd be curious to know sort of more about your story if you're willing.
Yeah.
But I remember the first friendship that ended for me, which was devastating in the moment. But now I look back, because it was in the 8th grade, and I was like, oh, like, okay, we really just weren't ever as connected as I felt during the explosion of it all.
Yeah.
But there is something that from that time you feel different. Like, I remember I was the first one in my core friend group to lose a friend. Now, everyone since then has also respectively lost someone or let go is more a better way of saying it.
Yeah.
But when it was me, after that, it felt like I looked at my peers differently because we had still at this point all sort of had what you were saying, which was the never letting go. We all love each other. We're fucking internal flames, twin flames. And I couldn't relate anymore.
Yeah.
And that was really weird. I just remember having people be like, but why can't you just make up?
Yeah.
And it's like, oh my God, you don't get it.
Yeah.
And Lord, when all of them lost their first friend, I said, remember when you said, why don't you just make up?
Yeah, call them out.
And then, of course, the reasonings, oh, well, this, and I'm like, exactly, it's complicated, and you just don't want to do it.
It's true. It becomes a feeling of like, I'm not going to do this because it means I'm compromising something in myself. Like,
Yes. Yeah. And there are some friendships where you want to go back to, but I remember with this kid, I mean, we were so different, and what held us together was a mutual.
Oh.
But I now remember, like, oh, I liked the mutual that we had. His name was Ethan, who I still am friendly with, much more than I ever liked this other kid. But I was like, we're all here, and la-di-da-di-da. So then when it ended and I was crying every night, it was like, oh my God, this is so hard. But then again, this is kind of what you wanted, Jasper. So.
Right. I mean, that's also, It's like, it's something that is necessary for your own growth and possibly the growth of a future friendship, but it never feels good. Like, sometimes the things that are good for us don't feel good. Like,
no.
And you have to get okay with that.
Yes. Do you remember the first friend you let go of, or that let go of you? I don't know.
Yeah, probably. It probably happened in high school, maybe, or maybe middle school. The thing is, I feel at that time in my life, we were all going through huge changes, and
right.
You know, there's a lot that goes into, you know, people in high school, they want to rebrand, you know, they want to be a different person. You don't want to come back after summer break from middle school and be like the same, like, awkward middle school kid. Me, on the other hand, I was like, I didn't really change that much. I was kind of I was never really thinking about how to be more popular or how to be part of a certain crowd. So going into high school, I realized how much that meant to people, and I couldn't relate anymore. It was a really deep feeling of loneliness and a really deep feeling of I think after that I couldn't get really deep with people because I was so scared of that happening again. So by the time I got into new relationships, it took a while. It took a really long time because I didn't want to accept the fact that all the friends that I knew kind of like we all drifted apart. And that's more of like a natural one. It wasn't really like a breakup in the sense of like, you did this, I did that. It was more just like we're growing up. But it affected me. It really did.
Yeah. It's also crazy because I still clearly think of that first friendship like moment. Even though I don't miss it, it's like that will forever shake something. I now sort of wanted to talk about adult friendships in two ways. There was a car, I let it go by. One, how do you, and I'm just asking this for me, for you, for the listeners, how do you transition a friendship from childhood into adulthood? Is there a thought process behind that, or is it seamless? And then two, making friends as adults where we haven't gone to school together. We haven't gone through all these monumental things that would bond us. But here we are. We work at the same job.
Yeah.
We like each other enough to want to do something outside of this. What does that look like? And I have two thoughts. One of my main friendships that I've also struggled with, and this is really interesting, actually. I have always had a very solid relationship with both men and women, friendship-wise. But I do think that the relationships that have been hardest for me to transfer into adulthood have been ones with men.
Oh.
And I don't know why, but it's just happened that way for me.
Yeah.
Maybe, and it's not a sexuality, but so I do find that with the guys in my life, because we all met when we were 5, we have this very juvenile sort of like, not that we're actually wrestling, but the way we talk to each other is very, in that manner, which I love. It's a part of me, you know, but so then when we're adults, sometimes it can be hard to try and sort of shift out of that. Yeah. Now, there are times when I like to be my young self in that way, but there are others where, especially with this one friend, who you are now isn't somebody who I actually like very much. And it has nothing to do with who you were and everything to do with who you are, but that isn't a flaw on your part. It's who you are.
Yeah.
I just now am realizing I'm not sure if that energy is something I want anymore. But for you, you could answer either one of those questions. Adult friendships now or translating from childhood into adults?
We're like in our 20s, and the maturity of being in your 20s is realizing that friendships, you know, you don't possess friendships. You simply have friendships. You share in a friendship. Yeah, it's definitely been hard for me. I'm the type of person where I don't hold on to anything too tightly, which might sound really, I don't want to say lazy, but it's more so just my philosophy of life. Like, I believe that things change for a reason. Evolution is a part of the way the world works, and that's how I view humans too, and like friendships and myself. So I do believe in the idea that sometimes you have to let people go and allow people to live their lives, and it's never a thing where I'm like, we're never gonna get together again, or that just like broke everything. I just truly believe that you come in people's lives for a reason and you leave for a reason, and you might come back again for another reason. So in terms of adult relationships and making friends, that's also a big part. It's like, for what reason are we friends? Like, are we friends because we happen to go through the same like work trauma together, you know? Or are we friends because we have very similar hobbies? Are we friends because, I don't know, there was something that we found, there was an energy we found from each other and we gravitate to it. I think there's all different reasons, and I've made friends in my adult life for various different ways and different reasons. And I find that friendships you make in adult life don't feel as, it feels like that person is meeting you where you're at now and not meeting a past version of you, which could be difficult in like friends you've had for a very long time. So it's still hard. I'm still trying to figure it out. And I'm not going to say I'm perfect at it, because I'm definitely not. I just think it's a lot of trial and error right now for me.
Yeah, that's so relatable. And I also, building from that, the adult friendships that I have where we've met as adults, and honestly, well, there's two things I want to say. We met as adults, but we were meeting in such a place of vulnerability in this artistic space where it was like, by the end of it, I had felt like I had known you my entire life.
Truly.
So I will say, maybe that's different.
That's unique.
Not referencing that. But the other adult friends who I've just met at jobs, it's right. They're meeting where you are. They're not gonna remember all this shit that you've done. You can tell them whatever aspects of yourself that you'd like to. Yeah. So it can feel super clean. And then I also have found with them, sometimes it's harder to keep up once we move on from different jobs.
Yeah, no, I've felt that too.
Like, I'm like, they're great. It's like, I don't even know why it's not still happening, but it's not. Or they fuck up in one way, and I'm much more likely to be like, I don't need this.
Yeah, the tolerance level. Oof.
The tolerance has changed.
Yeah.
And yet, it's like, why shouldn't I still be able to invest enough to be able to tell someone, this hurt my feelings, or this was weird, but like, let's work through it. I usually just like, they never need to know, I don't care enough for that. And then, probably we're not going to kick it as much.
Absolutely.
But, I mean, those are my friendship thoughts. I just think that it's such a complex thing.
So complex.
Do you feel like it's a particular need right now for you to make more friends?
I think so. I think, not that I'm like looking to have a bunch of friends on my roster, but almost like I want to experience a lot of different people. And I think I'm still very much open to making friends and to having new people come into my life. So I think it's definitely, I'll put it on my needs. Like, I wanna foster better, long-lasting friendships. Definitely.
Right.
What about you?
That's so great. Well, I also feel like what you're doing right now artistically is sort of in such a great space to do that.
Yeah.
Whereas I'm not. There are colleagues I have in the art space where I go, wow, we really align artistically. Yeah. But I have yet to find out here, I really hope I'm saying this right, I'm not forgetting someone. Never mind.
You said, let me stop myself right now.
Largely, it's like, but when we say goodbye after the set, I don't really need to see you again unless we're on another set.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I am so open right now And I say it as a joke, but it's so real for a relationship.
Oh my God. I was actually, well, maybe I'm shifting a little bit, but I would like to hear a little bit about how you feel friendships are for you. Like, what do you look for in friendships?
Yeah.
How do you choose a friend? Because I was listening to this podcast. I'm really trying to think about, no, it was a book that she basically made a podcast episode on. I'll probably link it when we do our caption. But she was talking about how friends are supposed to inconvenience you. And I was wondering your thoughts on that, because we were just talking about how in adult life, the tolerance level for people has shifted. I know for me, definitely it has. And there are just certain things in life I'm just not going to tolerate from people anymore.
Yeah.
But I do think about that idea of it being an inconvenience to people and what that means in terms of building a connection.
I definitely agree with the inconvenience burden, and it sounds worse than I think it actually is.
Mm-hmm.
Because for me, it's just a choice that I'm making to go out of my way to listen to your problems, to love you even though often these things come without thinking. It's still work, and work that I'm so happy to do.
Yeah.
But I also think that you'll know how close somebody is to you because you'll do more or less for them.
Yeah.
And I have been so surprised when there are friendships that I thought we were so tight, but then when something can't easily be done, all of a sudden I'm like, I can't do this. And never has it meant the friendship's ended, but I think that's your truth coming out. It's like, oh, you whether you like them or not, you're not gonna go all out for them.
Yeah.
Where then there are other people who, most of the time, I've known them for a long time, where I go, oh yeah, I'm not gonna ask you, for instance, to meet me halfway. I'll just come and get you. You know, there's a lot of, I think for me, honestly, the best way to say this is a lot of times where to see my friends, I gotta drive. And because out of my friend group of 3 other people, only 1 other person drives. And the 2 others don't. But I don't care.
Okay.
And I don't ask them to pay me back in gas mileage. I don't say, can we do another time when I'm feeling more like driving? Because I go, no, if I don't see them, then that's one less time I've been able to connect. And I love connecting with them. And I see it in return with them, and this is funny, but it is largely, well, in the superficial way, like drugs, like they'll supply the weed.
Yeah. Yeah.
And no one has ever said to me, hey, can you pay me back?
Yeah.
Or, you know, and like obviously those are superficial aspects, but it still is like we're all doing things where if it was anyone else, I would probably be more hesitant, but with certain people, I'm just like, fuck it, I don't care.
Yeah. Yeah. Whew, that's so real. Like everything you said, I think we take for granted in friendships. And just like you said, it is all still work.
Exactly.
And then you have to make a choice as to whether that work is worth it.
Yeah. You know, one of my friends is going through a breakup right now.
Yeah.
And they need a lot of support. Both because it's a breakup and because who they are as a person. When bad things happen, they need maybe more of a lift and a repetitive one than some other people I know. It is work. It is hard when somebody you love as deeply as I love them repeatedly shits on themselves for a situation that wasn't theirs to do, and so it can be hard for me to be like, oh my God, I have to tell them this again, that they're worthy, that they're important, this is the 4th time, this yada yada yada, but I do it. And ultimately it's for the right reasons. I want them to feel stronger, even if they don't at the moment. Or I even think, not that this is happening, but if we were to stop being friends, I would hope that everything I gave to them would allow them to feel strong in new friendships. So it's also about knowing that the work I'm doing might not always benefit me, but it's benefiting them. And that's when you know it's a real friend. It's
true.
not as much about you anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, that hits some nails on the head for me.
Yeah. I mean, like, do you have a friend who you feel like you would do anything for? Or maybe not anything, but, like, you know, you're just like, holy shit, you're in my life.
Definitely. And, like, when I feel when I'm in a friendship, yes, I have my boundaries. I have very distinct boundaries as well, and if you know me as your friend, like, you're gonna know where I put the boundary down, right? But in all other aspects, I know that I'm an extremely giving friend, and I will literally lay down my life for people in like a ridiculous way. So I've had to sometimes, you know, shut that down really quickly, which is not always healthy, but it's more of like a self, what does they call that? Like a
preservation?
Yeah, self-preservation thing. It's very primal sometimes, where I feel like, just like you said, if you're not getting that sort of response back from people, or if the load gets too heavy and there's really nothing that you can see coming from it, you kind of have to shut it down. And it's really hard to explain that to somebody, I think. Especially when they're going through their own.
You know, this is a really great episode. I'd love to just keep delving into these sorts of topics with you. Hopefully the listeners like it.
Definitely.
I'm also just super excited for next season because I have some stuff planned. I got a new mic.
Yes.
Our levels just aren't the same, and I know it's really hard. I actually got exposed on Thanksgiving.
Stop.
Yes. Jessica, what are your closing remarks?
Friendship is not easy, but it's always worth it. And you have to know your balance. You have to know where you stand, and you have to know the type of friend that you want and that you want to be. You know, and it's work. So I implore everyone to do that work.
Yes. My thoughts are friendships are so worth it, but know when it's time to go. And you don't gotta be friends with everybody, even if it's a friend's friend, so you feel like, oh, we must relate. Sometimes you just don't. And that's cool too. Well, goodbye, everyone.
Bye, podcast. Thanks for listening.